Yo YouTube, it's Brewski. Welcome back to another checklist. So, you guys know I love reviewing armies and lists, but if there's anything I love more than that, it's reviewing two at once, because that's so easy to do. Oh man. It wasn't, but I did enjoy myself. Anyway, I jumped in with the Legion Facebook page, and they had a player named Michal who wanted to have me not look over one, but two lists, and actually give the pros and cons and what I thought was better out of them for competitive potential. He runs into Kryssa, Crucible Guard, and minions, and some Scorn. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently, because I think if I'm going through every single unit and every single rule, you guys are going to be here for about 3,000 years, and ain't nobody got time for that. Down to the list. We're just going to call them List 1 and List 2. So List 1, they're both 75 points, by the way. List 1 is 75 points in Oracles of Annihilation, run by Kryssa, Conviction of Everblight. She's packing a Succubus, a Carnivian, 3 Angelius, and a Seraph. She's bringing along Thagrosh Hellborn and a Naga Night Lurker, a Blight Archon with a Mechana Shredder and a Stinger, 2 Blighted Nist Sorceresses and Hellions, the Forsaken, 2 Blighted Nist Shepherds, and a unit of Ice Witches. Now, he did have a Specialist sideboard, which I, being totally honest with you, did not go into, because this had the Death Archon, and it just really alters the mechanics of the list way too much. I think you were better off sticking with the Blight Archon and his gang, so I didn't honestly bother going into that. I think you're running Legion, you want the Blight Archon. Enough said. Anyway, that is List 1. So here's what I think of this whole thing. First off, in Oracles, minions are blighted. Blighted models have a 2-inch corrosion bubble. If friendly models can start the game with their upkeeps in effect as well, which is pretty handy because Kryssa has several of those. So Kryssa is your Toolbox Mark III caster for Legion. Her feat gives friendly models in the control range +3 strength, and melee weapons fire continuous effect for 1 turn. Warriors get tough in her command range, so she's buffing just about everything around her in a bubble. That's hella handy, especially seeing as Legion is such an Alpha Strike army. You kind of need that. She's got spells for everything, okay? Cloak of Ash conceals. Can also debuff attacks from enemies. Energizer moves her battle group faster, even though most of them fly. Howling Flames is a fire spray. Ignite gives friendly targets +2 to melee attack damage, plus crit continuous fire. Tactical Supremacy gifts reposition. And due to the theme, she can start with upkeeps in play. That's 3 spells: Cloak of Ash, Ignite, and Tactical Supremacy. So she is perfect in this theme. I wouldn't run her in anything else. Getting into the battle group and the models. Her Succubus, the command attachment for the Warlock, lets her upkeep a spell free. She can also cast spells. She has a Cloud Effect, Area of Effect with Blizzard. Hexbolt cripples a unit for a turn. And Influence, she can basically siren an enemy unit into doing your bidding. What do you bid? Getting into the battle group itself, the Carnivian is a melee beatstick. It's got a fire spray for range, a high number of attacks, and spiny growth for an animus. Gets extra armor and does damage to attackers. Your 3 Angelius. Wow. They're flying agile heavies with a really good ranged fire attack and a spread of melee ability. And they have repulsion, so they all push models. They have to be within 2 inches, but they move them 3 inches away. So this is a great way to push stuff back if you need to. Since those all fly, you have them where you want them. Seraph is also a flyer, very nimble. Fire range attacks and a poison stinger. Animus is Slipstream. Basically gives 2-inch reposition to something close to the casters. Here's where we really get into the fun. You're taking Thagrosh Hellborn with a Naga Night Lurker. Thagrosh is just an absolute beatstick of a monster, even in his junior form, basically. Baby Thags, he's tough. He's got an Anthank, so he can Leech Fury and then fill up to his max. He can control stuff, and he's got Rapid Mutation. This is where he really gets wicked. He can spend 1 Fury at the start of activation, +1 for each mutation he's gotten throughout the game to get one of these rules for the rest of the game, but only 1 each. In other words, they don't stack. So Defiant Rage, when he's damaged, he gets +2 strength and armor. Draconic Mastery can cast an animus of a friendly faction beast without spending Fury. Holy shit, free animi. Thrunbul's Guidance. In his control range, battle group models can reroll missed attacks. Just his group. Okay, that's not to Kryssa's group or anything, so that's a little whatever. But he's packing a Naga Night Lurker, which has Shadowbind. -3 defense, can't move. Ow! Gives Blessed and Magical to weapons and Wraithbane. Then you've got a Blight Archon with a Mechana Shredder and a Stinger. Mechana Shredder is just there to chomp stuff. Stinger is another small guy with a fire spray and counterblast. Animus gives extra attacks. The Blight Archon you want to use more as a combat solo, but it can run these two little guys, which is almost like its own little separate army. That's cool. That's going to work pretty nicely. You've got two Bladedness Sorceresses and Hellions. They buff and coordinate your flyers, which you need a lot with your main battle group because they are all flying. Mildly capable as combat solos as well, so don't count them out if you have to send them into fights. The Forsaken, I've seen this in a couple Legion lists now. This dude is wicked. Dude, chick, whatever. There's a lot of Slaneshi vibes with this model, I just gotta be honest. Anyway, Forsaken has these really wicked abilities to draw Fury off your beasts and then spew them back out on enemies in powerful shots. It's sort of like a Fury Leeching gun. I love it for damage potential, honestly. Then you've got two Bladedness Shepherds, can force beasts in command range, remove, replace Fury, and can heal beasts. So this is another... All the solos you're taking, except maybe Forsaken because he has Fury management, but they're all buffing the battle group. You're just throwing a wicked number of beasts at your opponent. They're not the toughest, they're not the biggest, they're not the nastiest, but you will get one hell of an alpha strike with this army if you pull it all off. Personally, I get the feeling you're just trying to overwhelm, crush, kill, destroy, and assassinate with these lists, which is fine. Just be aware you're not going to do much in scenarios. That's a drawback I see to both, honestly. That unit in this case is your Ice Witches. Leader and two Grunts. Toolbox Wizards. It's interesting to me, almost everything you picked here has varieties of uses. Frostbite is a cold offensive spell. Ice Cage is a -2 defense penalty and can render units stationary. Puppet Master gives you a reroll on one attack or damage roll for an enemy in range. In other words, if they make a critical hit, you can have them reroll and either hit less or miss or whatever. Overall thoughts on the list. This is very glass cannon. This is very typical of Legion. It's very fast, it's very maneuverable, it's agile, but it's less tanky and it's not very tough. So the solos are key to handling, buffing, and managing all the beasts. The whole thing is going to be this big synergist puddle. It just has to move together, stay together, and it's got to hit like a ton of bricks. If you get shot early, you're going to have issues, which means Crucible Guard potentially can be a big pain in the butt. Cricks, if they run shootier units or if they're taking advantage of a range game, could do that. I don't think minions are going to unless you come across certain ones. I think that's going to be your easy prey right there. This, I think, is built more for assassination and for beast overwhelm. It's not going to be a scenario game. Don't try scoring. Just use everything offensively and wipe your opponent out. Kill the caster, do whatever you have to do. I like the list. I think it's got a lot of competitive edge. You're going to run into trouble with armor cracking, I think. It's not that the beasts aren't tough and can't do it. I just don't think they're really suited for it as a primary. If you run up against someone who's literally taking 2 or 3 Colossals or Gargantuans, or they're running like Khador, for example, you don't play them very often, I gather. But if you're running a Jaws list, that's going to give you a hard time. Really shooty lists potentially could as well. Retribution, Signar are the two I'm mainly thinking of here. You're really going to do well also against stuff like Trollbloods. I could see a 50-50 kind of fight to a draw with stuff like Circle, just because they can match you or better in the maneuverability game. They have all the movement shenanigans. Even though they're not necessarily faster, they can outmaneuver you. I think that would put you at quite a disadvantage. So do be aware of that on this list. All right, so that's list 1. List 2, again, 75 points, this time in Primal Terrors, run by your boy KALLUS, Devastation of Everblight. He's bringing along Emok the Truthbearer, 2 Scythians, and a Ravagore. Also the Blight Archon, a Teraph, Thagrosh Hellborn, and a Mechana Shredder, the Forsaken, and the Wastelander. Croak Raiders, a leader and 9 Grunts, and Chosen of Everblight, leader and 4 Grunts. So you got another unit on this one. That's the plus. So for the theme, Primal Terrors, it's meant to be tough and Oghren based. You don't have a lot of that here, oddly enough. Negates speed for tankiness, basically. Your Blighted Oghren Warmongers and War Spears get Vengeance. You're not running either of those units. Okay, fine. Here's the list. KALLUS is a fun little boy. I really like the model. I think a lot of people tend to go to him as a beat stick. He has regeneration. He gives continuous fire to the beasts in his battle group. And he's fast. His feat, Dragon Breath, takes advantage of the Field Marshal, Hand of the Dragon, continuous fire stuff, and buffs his beasts and models and charges and slams. So again, he's another battle group caster. A little more offensive than anything. Spell-wise, he's buffing melee damage to models and units with Battle Lust. Blazing Path creates an immunity to fire bubble while setting enemies on fire at the exact same time, and in the same bubble. Brand of Fire is just a fire offensive spell, and Overrun lets your beast kill in advance. So again, he really is about the battle group. I almost wish he had more. He could do with a couple more, I would think, in this, but he can do a lot with what he has. The 3 beasts, the 2 Scythians are serious melee, and they're very tanky. They're mainly good against infantry, from what I know. The Murderous rule gives it extra dice on melee attack rolls against warriors, not jacks or beasts. The Thresher rule lets it make 1 melee attack to hit everything in range, so again, you have a sweeping attack. That just screams anti-infantry. Animus' Slaughterhouse gives grievous wounds to melee weapons for a turn. That's great for taking out harder targets like Skinwalkers or Trollkin, things like that. The Ravagore is your ranged badass. He's got a 14-inch area of effect, power 15 Blight Blast. Does wonders for your range game. Does fire damage, can arc over friendlies, and creates a hazard for 1 round. So this also sets you up for a little bit of jamming. He's beautiful. He can also fight in melee if you need to. He's got 2 talons at power strength 16 and a power strength 15 bite. Animus is Recoil. Caster gets Swift Hunter and allows it to advance 2 inches after destroying a model with a ranged attack. So if he kills something at range, he can move up and reposition. Pretty nice. Alright, rest of the list. Blight Archon. I didn't so much get into detail on this one, but again, it's a great Warlock solo that has a lot of buffs to blighted models. +1 to attack rolls. Otherwise, it's offensively toolbox. Assault allows for shooting and charging. It flies. It has immunity to corrosion. Divine Manifestation keeps it from becoming knocked down, blind, and it can't be controlled. So something like Siren is not going to be able to do anything here. Can run a small battle group. Also debuffs immunity to corrosion in your opponent's army. So if you're playing Kryssa, this is a plus. And again, your Blight Archon is in both your lists, so good choice there. He's Soul Ward, so he's not going to be giving anyone soul tokens or allowing them to get them. Weapon-wise, he can do range, he can do melee. He's got a Toxic Breath, which is a 10-inch spray with continuous and corrosion damage. Blighted Talons also have continuous corrosion. Spell-wise, he's got a couple interesting ones. Crimson Ballet gives battle group models sprint. The melee version of Swift Hunter. After it kills something in melee, it can make a full advance and the activation ends. Dragon's Blood gives friendly models or units +2 armor. When a model is disabled in melee, the attacker suffers corrosion continuous effect. Basically the alien acid blood effect. Nice. It's got to be in formation. That's kind of the drawback there. Impending Doom pulls in enemy models within 5 inches in the order you pick, turning this guy into a black hole of destruction. Very nice. He's running a Teraph in this list, which has Advanced Deployment, Pathfinder, Eyeless Sight, all the good stuff Legion loves, and is soulless. This can dig in, meaning it burrows and can avoid blast damage. Doesn't block line of sight, can start the game that way. And he's also ranged. Blight Blast is a range 12 area of effect for power 13 fire and continuous fire that creates a fire hazard for 1 round, so you have, again, shooting and jamming at the same time. He and the Ravagore must be buddies. But this guy is a trap unit. You just set him up, fire and forget, put him somewhere. This is more sacrificial. This thing is fire and forget. It's going to sit there, cause a problem, and die. It's going to be further up with the advanced deployment anyway. Thagrosh 0. We already went over all his stuff. He's doing a lot for his battle group. He's very much into his spells, free animi, the whole 9. Mechanoshredder is a construct beast, kind of interesting. Gets additional damage dice against constructs, so if you're playing Kryssa or you're playing Crucible Guard or other War Machine factions, that's going to be a plus. Basically just chomps you, he bites. When it destroys an enemy construct, it can remove D3 damage from itself. Clamp basically means an enemy model with smaller equal base gets -2 defense for a round and can't move. So this guy is good for pinning and holding something in place until it dies or it dies. You're going to want to use a Thronebell's Guidance, particularly on him, because it gives it the best chance to use Clamp. He's only map 5, he's not that big, he's not that tough. Enough said. Again, Forsaken, good choice in the list. Wastelander, this... The only thing I can really say on this little guy is weird flex, but okay. He's fast, he's tough, he's this Kensei type model. He's got Shield Guard with Take a Bullet. Also has Weapon Master with Power Strength 10 sword that has Decapitation, so damage exceeding armor does double damage. That could be very nasty. I like this guy's abilities, I just don't know that he necessarily fits the list super well. And then you've got Croak Raiders. They're basically just shooty advanced deploying minions. They're effective but fragile. Gives you more of a range game in this case. And your Chosen of Everblight. These guys are your 1 Blighted Ogryn unit. They're Cavalry, Pathfinder, tough. They have rapid healing and reposition. Awesome in melee, very tough to kill. They're the only ones beside Thagrosh really taking advantage of the theme buffs, though. Overall, the list is beast heavy, not as heavy as the other one, but these are the stronger, tougher, bigger, heavy beasts. Take advantage of multiple beast controllers. You're not utilizing the theme a lot, though. That's the biggest downside I see on this. This could hold its own against heavier infantry lists, but I think dedicated armor is still going to pose a problem. Not too much cracking at range. The Ravagore is going to be your best bet, I think. Potentially the Wastelander and the Forsaken can team up and take out Jax themselves. Decapitation on the Wastelander is good. Forsaken advanced deploying is just going to be a thorn in the opponent's side, do early damage, that kind of thing. Unit-wise, I mean, you have a cavalry unit that wants to get into a fight and a shooter unit that doesn't want to get stuck and doesn't want to get into melee. So you really have to be careful where you put these guys and what you do with them. So there's list 2. Now for the verdict, what you've all been waiting for. You want to know which one I love and which one I hate. Well, okay, I'll be really honest with you. I like list 1 a heck of a lot better. Why? Beast spam, pure and simple. This is a really purpose-driven list. Everything has a use, everything has a purpose, everything works well together. It fits the theme. The caster takes advantage of the theme. Everything dovetails beautifully in this first list. Aside from the fact that you're going to overwhelm someone just with the sheer number of war beasts, and with the solos backing them up do so much to keep them from frenzying, from going out of control, for being able to manage fury the way you need to. I absolutely love it. I think it's really perfect. The only thing it really does worse in than the other one is it only has 1 unit. So it is purely an assassination kill them all list. That's the only thing that I think it does worse than the other one. List 2 with Kallus, it's got tougher beasts, but not as many of them, and the units and the solos feel a lot more scattered to me. Thagrosh is the same, the Blight Archon is the same, I know, but everyone else in the list, it just seems more divided and more divisive. It doesn't cohese as well. It doesn't work together as well, and you're hardly taking advantage of the theme. Competitively, I think your opponent is going to be a leg up no matter what you do against list 2. That's the other reason I say take list 1. It dovetails beautifully. I couldn't have built it better. I couldn't have changed anything better on that list. So, Michael, again, sorry for the wait on this. I really hope you like that, and I hope it answers your questions and really gives you an idea what this thing's going to be good at. So, there's another checklist. If you guys have enjoyed this, please leave a like, subscribe to see more videos like this. I actually would love some feedback in the comments. What do you guys think of the list? Which one did you take? Kryssa, list 1, or Kallus, list 2? Leave it down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on these, especially if you play Legion. I'm saying it right now, I'm not as experienced with this army by a long shot, but I've been doing a couple of these lists now. I feel a little more practiced, but I can always learn more, and that's what I come to you guys for and sometimes. So, leave me your feedback. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.